Mate.
Welcome back. It's been a little while. I know I'm getting pretty inconsistent with these, and I do apologise. This is the Man podcast. I am going to try and get better at it. I'm Thomas. I'm the lead speaker or listener. I'm still not sure what I'm going to call myself. But today I've got a special guest, Liam. I've known Liam. Liam, I actually had to look back to try and find out on Instagram when I started following you.
Yeah.
I looked all the way back just to see where you kind of started your Instagram. But I think it was potentially 2021. Did you prep in 2021?
I did.
Yeah.
That was in lockdown.
It must have been. Yeah, that's when it must have been. I'd seen that you were doing men's physique and you were with Vaughn, and I was.
Oh, yeah. I did 2019 and then I did 20. Yeah.
I wonder if it's 2019 then. It might be from 2019 because that was when I prepped for my first photo shoot.
Okay.
It might be. So I've known Liam on social media. I've known Liam on social media for a little while. Met him twice in person. I came down and trained with you, and then I seen you at your PCA show, right? Great guy. Honestly, this guy, phenomenal physique. And I'm going to blow a bit of smoke up your asses now, Liam. Phenomenal physique. Great business mind. Great social media. I love it. And we're going to talk a bit about that down the line, just some things that we both agree on. And just all-round good guy, like genuinely, and I mean that. But we'll get all your social media and that at the end. But I'm going to let Liam talk a little bit. We're going to find out a bit more about him. The good thing is, because me and Liam have only met a couple of times, there's a load of questions I've got. There's a load of things that's happening in Liam's life that's like interesting that I want to know more about, and I'm going to try and tap into. But yeah, Liam, if you can start back from as far back as you can remember. Talk us through where you started, all of everything, and then we'll get as close to now as we can.
Of course. First of all, appreciate the kind words and you taking me on. It's a mega honour to be here. So I came from a town called Wick initially. That's right at the north of Scotland. I don't know if you know it.
Yeah.
Like John O'Groats to Land's End. So I'm like right up there. So I lived up there all my life, just a small town place. Went to school up there, all my family's up there, and went into. I wasn't always into weights necessarily. I came from a sprinting background. I used to do athletics and stuff, so I used to be a sprinter and stuff. And then maybe along the way, I realized that like I was always fast, and I was always had that athletic build. But there wasn't much to me in the sense that I've always been that sort of skinny fat boy. And I remember it must have been 2007. I got one of those little, those little York plastic vinyl weight sets that I used to get from Argos. So I got one of those, and I kind of dove into it a little bit here and there. If I'm being honest, like, as probably I'm sure a lot of guys, like, the main sort of thing you do it for is that female attraction initially. You want to look good. You want to look better. Like, I'd have like the bodybuilding magazines and stuff, and I'd see what guys looked like. I was like, I kind of want to look like that. So I did a little bit of that here and there in high school. Always wanted to go to uni. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to go. So you probably would never guess it, but I ended up going away to animal biology of all things. So did that in Edinburgh. Edinburgh Napier, yeah. So up until that point, I went to Napier in 2013, and coming at the sort of start of 2013, I started taking, if you could call it, my fitness journey more seriously. I was lifting weights more seriously. Like, I was obsessed with it, like checking bodybuilding.com, reading all the books I could. And then we get away, and it's just a little like local leisure gym I have at mine. There's nothing there. The dumbbells go up to 20 kilograms. There's no squat racks or barbells or anything. I get away to Edinburgh, and at that point I think it was my first week, and I had a long-term girlfriend at the time. Well, I had a girlfriend, and that went Splitsville, so I was like, right, fuck it, I'm just gonna go nose dive into the gym here, and it just took off from there, man. Like, I think I spent more time in the gym than I did at uni when I was away there. Like, didn't spend any time at my classes, couldn't tell you half the people that was in my class to this day. I just fell in love with it, and didn't really concentrate on the nutrition side of things. I did some seriously bad dirty bulks. Like, I'm sure if you've been through the archives of my posts, there's some bad ones in there. And then along the way, obviously I did all that through uni, and if you want to dive into some more of that, we can. But just fell more and more in love with the gym. I love the idea of actually being able to maybe be a PT one day. Just didn't have the confidence or anything for it. We get to third year of uni, and I'm like, right, I need to start thinking about what I'm going to do after university at this point. So I applied for a job. It was armed police, the nuclear constabulary, up at a power plant back home called Dunnery. So get everything done for that. and essentially do my medical, do all my training and stuff. And as I'm getting clear to go away and start the actual job, they were like, "You're not getting. There's been a problem with your security clearance." Now, the problem with, or the good thing, I suppose, about being such a small local place is that everybody knows everybody. So essentially, my family all worked at the same place, and it basically came down to the fact that I had a heart condition from previous. So I had what's called Wolff Parkinson White syndrome. So an extra pathway in the heart doesn't really mean anything. Most of the time, I didn't even know it was there until I had a random ECG and it showed up. So I got all that sorted years prior to that. And anyway, they were like, "You're not getting." So obviously, I've just finished uni, and I'm like, "Right, fuck, what do I do now? Like, where am I going?" So at that point, I was like, "Well, I love the gym. I've gained a fair bit of knowledge. I've gained some muscle, some size. Maybe I could just go and do my PT." And at that point, I was like, "Right, let's do it." And I decided I was going to go and do a master's degree. So that was sport management in Stirling. I had this bright idea that they were going to go hand in hand, like sport management, self-employed business, and fitness. What could go wrong? Same principle again. Get to Stirling Uni. There's no interest in going to the uni at all. To be honest, I thought the course was a bit of a joke. It was more involved with like sports organisations and stuff. And along the way, like I actually hated Stirling. For those that don't know, I live in Stirling full time now. That first year, that first 6 months, I could not wait to leave. But then I passed my PT qualifications. I got a job in Pure Gym in Stirling, and I've just stayed there ever since. I can be quite. I come from a very shy background. I've been prone to having anxiety and like social anxiety in the past, and I don't. I'm better now, but I didn't used to make friends very easily. I come from a small town. I could be maybe a bit judgmental, but I found this place in the gym, and I started to make friends, and I fucking loved it. So I was like, right, cool, I can stay here. Made friends, made a base, and then along the way, we obviously hit lockdown. Business has taken off at this point. I don't know about you in your PT background, but I would get to like winter time every year. You have the dip off in clients, and I'm like, right, I might need to start looking for new jobs here. Lockdown hits, and I joined a course with Mark Coles. It was off the recommendation of our coach Van. It was called, I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but essentially, he was like, right, you need to move the needle. You need to do something here and now that can make you money. So I started an 8-week challenge because pretty much all my PT clients had left. I was up shit creek, did a challenge, got some really good results, had so much interest because obviously it was a time in lockdown where nobody had anything better to do that the interest just took off, got loads and loads of results. And before you know it, I've like taken a massive step up in both reputation and income. And then along this time, so me and my two friends, the gyms aren't open. We've actually hired a shipping container down like in Stirling to actually supply our kit because I wanted to keep the PT up in lockdown. I'm kind of going back and forth here a little bit now. But I remember that I had like a Nissan Juke at the time, and at least 3 times a day I was driving down to the park. I had 200 kilograms worth of weights in my car, barbell, dumbbells, and I was unloading and loading the car. So we're like, right, we need to do something. So we got a shipping container, and then it just turned out that our clients loved it. Like they're like, we don't want to go back to Pure Gym with all these precautions and stuff. So we started looking at other units. We initially wanted a PT studio. A couple fell through. It was going to be like maybe 2,000, 1,600 square feet. And then next up, we found a unit that was like 4,000 square feet, which is actually pretty frightening at the time because like, right, it's going to cost way more than we anticipated. It's going to take a lot more work. But we went for it. That gym's been ours since September 2020. And I've just been running my PT business, my online business, alongside that gym for coming up to 3 years now. And that brings us to here and now. I didn't overly mention the competing side of things, actually. Do you want me to go into that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I should have thought about that. I basically, along the way, I've always known I wanted to compete. I've always loved the look of like your Jeremy Buendia and stuff. And I thought I'd love to do that one day. I had a girlfriend that lived in Dundee at the time when I was doing some of this stuff, and that's where I came across Van at Pure Gym. I remember I used to put these like crazy detailed Instagram posts up about like just going way into detail, and I was like, right, this guy knows his shit. This is going to be the guy that takes me to where I want to be. In my eyes, like I'm going to the Olympia. I'm good enough. So I remember signing up to him in 2018, and then I was like, right, I want you to help me get in a good place so that I can compete next year. And I do my show in 2019 in May, and I came second the first time I did it, and I did another one second again, and that's where the curse of my second places started because I've had like 6 second places since. And then along the way, I've been with Van since, and it's just like there's been ups and downs, of course it has, but like I've just always wanted to be bigger, better, stronger, improve on how I look. I've competed again in 2021, as we mentioned there. I did that in a lockdown prep. which was up there with one of the hardest things I've ever done, just how hard that prep was. And then I came second and third that time, and I competed again in 2022. I came second 3 times, and I got a couple of firsts, and I won an overall. Did another one this year, just passed. Best I've ever looked by a long, long, long shot. Was absolutely delighted. I came into that with so much confidence that I was going to win, and I got third, fourth, and fifth. And I joke with this. I was like, it's ironic that the best I've ever looked by such a margin is the worst I've ever done. So that was actually a little bit difficult to deal with this year from an emotional and a mental standpoint. But that sort of covers my competing journey as well.
Yeah, man. Well, I seen you, and I can remember thinking. Because remember, I came and trained with you, and I was looking at you, and I was like, "Holy! Like this guy's big. He's lean. He's got that men's physique look. Like, it was nuts.
Like,
It was nuts.
I don't consider myself to be a hockey, but I was like, right, it's mine this year. I've got it this year. So
Yeah.
not to be.
That's like, again.
Yeah, that takes us to here.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to kind of dig into the personal training side of stuff because,
Okay.
like you said there, like you and when I started personal training, I wanted to be the guy that got results. Like that was in my head. I was like the amount of people that you hear saying, "I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to see abs, I want to,"
Yeah.
like I was like, right, I want to know how to get people that consistently. And I think, and maybe this is something we can, like, a bit off topic, but we can talk about this. There's a lot of PTs out there now that they'll take you for an hour session and then you're gone, bye, and they don't give a shit what you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't get you results, but for some reason they're still popular. And I don't get that. Like if I go to the shop to buy bread, I want to be walking out the shop with bread.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
You know? Whereas I feel like there's like this.
Exactly.
I don't know. But when we look at like personal training, especially for you, and like you said there, like you start doing these 8-week challenges, and you started getting it, and this is something we spoke about as well. That like the results that we want to get now, we want them to be a high standard as well. Do you want to talk a little
There
bit
is a
about
minimum
starting
standard.
out? Yeah. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about
of course.
personal training starting and how that kind of went,
Yeah.
and then how it kind of got to like the results and the crazy transformations that you're at now?
Yeah. So initially, I actually wanted to go down more of the strength side of things. Like I used to be one of your typical one rep max gym bros, and the irony now is that I'll slate it to the sun. Like I fucking hate one rep maxes now, but I used to be that guy. I used to want to get people strong. So I get in. I actually did a level 4 strength and conditioning alongside my initial PT. But obviously, you're working in a pure gym. The chances are you're not, especially just starting out. Like you're taking people whoever you can get. And it's ironic that you talk about those 1 hour PT sessions on its own, because that's all I used to do. I didn't know any better. Like you'd come along for one PT session. This was back in 2018. Wasn't giving them. I mean, I'd literally text them a workout like each time they want to go into the gym. I'd be like, right, I'll text you a workout for today. And then I remember I PT'd one of my neighbors, and I was sitting in my back garden one day, and she's like, "Oh, do you think you could give me some like calories and stuff?" And I was like, "Why haven't I done that? Why haven't I done that?" Obviously, I'm a firm believer in that you can't take someone through what you haven't done and don't know yourself. So I'd done a little bit of like playing about with like calories, but I'd never been lean at this point. So I was only working within my own capacity, but I always knew I sort of wanted to get there. I just didn't know how. Obviously, I do my prep in 2019. And at that point, I was like, right, I've now got social proof that I can sort of do what I need to do. At this point, I'm learning about, like, it's important to actually keep investing in your own education. And it's something I preach to all PTs. Like, I started looking at, like, muscle mentor stuff. I did do a nutrition course. I think it was precision nutrition. And there's been a few other ones along the way. But I started basically diving into that sort of stuff. And along the way, obviously I'm learning about like doing my own prep. Like before I did my own prep, I didn't know how to make calorie adjustments, like to go up or down. I didn't know when. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know how much cardio to do or anything of the sort. So like a lot of my own methodologies comes from having done it and trialed it myself. Like I would never ask, I'm sure you're the same, I would never ask someone to do something that I haven't done. So we did that, and along the way, like I'm not a going back to that social anxiety, I'm sort of come from a shy background. I was saying this to someone the other day. In all my time, I've never walked up to a gym member on the gym floor to try and get in this PT. I've just never done it.
Yeah.
I ran what I would call shit hot classes at Pure Gym. Like to this point, I still get people asking if I'll ever go back and do them. And when I first started at Pure Gym, I'm a big believer in like you get out what you put in. So I literally for 3 months, every night, Monday to Friday, I sat at the gym floor with a whiteboard, being like, "Come and try a free one-to-one PT session." I gave away about 60 hours, and to this day, I've still got 2 of them. And that's what got me my gym floor experience. And obviously, like you're watching things, you're doing your own things. So that was that. And then obviously, as you go along, you can get any client. If you any PT can get the right client who's motivated to get results, and you'll get that for them, even if you're not that sure what you're doing. Got a couple of them along the way, and then as I start knowing more and more, I start being able to take what you could call maybe slightly more, not even advanced, but more passionate people, more committed people. And that took me to that point. But at this point, I'm still PT. I don't know how to get into online. I just don't know how you do it. I remember asking Vaughn loads of times, and he gave me some wording and stuff. And then it got to 2020 with the challenges. And at that point, I kind of knew what I'm doing. And I'm like, right, let's just see how far we can take it with some of these people. Got some good results, had a progressive challenge where you try and make it harder each time. And then at that point, it just got to the point where you got more and more people coming. And to be honest, I had to sift through some pretty shit clients, if I'm being really honest. Like people who just, they sign up on the hype, they think that that's going to get it, and it didn't. But you get more and more people, and then as you get better and better results, you get better and better clients coming to you that have the potential to do better. I did, over the course of my time, to actually get started online, what I did was I put up something on Instagram. I was like, I'm willing to take 8 people through 8 weeks of coaching for free to see what you can do. And that's how I kind of got in. That did allow me to get started. And then along the way, literally, it was just a case of as I progressed myself and I progressed the results I was getting just by being able to push someone that little bit further, learning through my own stuff, the standard just risen. I don't want to be a prep coach. I don't want to be I just want to be almost like a transformation. I want to take someone to a place they've never been. But how I first was able to do that was I took one of my best friends last year through a prep for free. I was like, I know I can do this. I want to do it for you. Are you willing to let me? And he did. And yeah, the standard of clients have just risen ever since.
I think it's funny actually. Like I've never really thought about that, but like now that I'm sitting here and you're talking about it, like I bet we've gone through a lot of very similar things. I bet a lot of PTs do actually. But I can remember getting clients coming through the door, massively driven, and then they would tell me like, "Oh, I've read X, Y, and Z." Like I remember when I first started out, like we've got to cut carbs out, and that'll get me to drop fat. And I'd be like, "All right, let's try it."
Yeah.
They'd come back like the next day, and they'd be like, "Oh, I've dropped 3 pounds," and you were like, "Right, let's fucking stick to that then. Let's just like keep them out." And you like
you just trial it, don't you? Don't want it better.
Yeah. And I can remember going to uni, and when I was at uni, and we spoke about like calories, and that was like the essential part of fat loss. Like I was just like, it's just all about calories. But like you, I was like, when do you reduce them? I'm not really sure. And then when people were like, how do I track them? And I was like, I'll just use MyFitnessPal. Like I was shit at tracking calories, but I would just do it religiously, so I would still get somewhat progress on my own. Yeah, it's funny looking back on those. I can remember
to this day, I don't.
Oh, you still don't use it?
Yeah. No, I remember like I'm just not good with that. I remember I would literally write everything down on pen and paper. I'd write down all the calories and the macros, and at this point now, it's like I'm pretty good. I've got on prep is different, but now I've got a solid intuition of proteins and fats. Like I just track carbs at this point. I mentally add up the carbs in my head because what was in each thing. I don't disagree with MyFitnessPal in the slightest. I think it's fantastic, especially if you don't know. It's just not me, you know.
Yeah.
So if I have a meal plan, or I could just add up like for like replacements, it just makes life easier, man.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. During what was I about to say there? There was something I was about to say, and then I'll come on to something else to ask you just about. Shit, what was it? Yeah, actually, so after uni, once I found out it was all about calories, I've had transformations when I started TS Health and Fitness. I think it's 6 years ago, like way back when I started. And if any of them are listening, I am sorry, and I'm sorry that I did you a disservice. There was people that got results that were unbelievable, but they were unhealthy. Like ridiculously unhealthy. And I actually never shared them back then because I knew. And if they are listening, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't do better back then. But fuck.
Yeah.
And
there's that
that's
ethics,
what I was going to ask. Yeah, it's...
No, sorry. I've literally had clients as late as this year, and it's like, oh, I've been so stressed and I can't eat and I've lost like 2 stone. And I was like, that's not healthy though. That's not how I want to be doing this. That's not what I want to be known for. Like there's like there comes a time, even if they've made progress, if it's the wrong way of doing it, you can't put your name to it.
Yeah, yeah. I had a guy had a sickness bug, like couldn't eat or drink. Everything that he ate and drank, he just like spewed or pooed it out real fast, and he ended up getting like pretty much a 6-pack in like a week and a bit. And he was like, "Mate, let's use this transformation." And I was like, "I can't." I was like, "You've not been well. Like, I just can't use it."
Someone comes to you and asks you what you did, and you're like, "No, you don't."
Yeah. You definitely don't want to do what he's just done. So I guess a similar story as well. Like I came from like a strength and conditioning background, and then I started to notice that I cared more about like how do you get someone looking banging? Because I know that people don't really care about 1 rep maxes, and nobody wants to snatch or nobody wants to clean and jerk. Like, and then CrossFit became a big thing. So if I maybe had stuck in it, I would have been bloody multi-millionaire by now. But I kind of shift. Yeah, I like shifted away. And similar to you, like once I had in my head like I'd always wanted to be ripped.
Yeah,
I'd always wanted it. And then Vaughn posted a photo when he done like one of his fucking crazy short like cuts for a photo shoot. And I was like, I fucking want that. So I met Vaughn and I spoke with him and I was like, man, I want to know what that feels like. And he was like, it's hard as fuck. And I was like, I don't care. I'll manage.
Yeah.
And then I can remember when I started doing it, I actually thought he was killing me. Like I thought he was making me unwell. And I'm so glad that I experienced it though. Like you were saying as well, like once you've gone through it yourself, there's nothing that you would get someone else to do. Or that you wouldn't ever
I remember
to do something.
Yeah, I remember like before I did my prep, I'd never so much as had even remote abs. I'd always wanted it, but I felt like there was a point. I remember saying this. I was like 9 weeks out, and I was like, I just don't have abs. They're just not coming. But I'd never even stuck to a diet like before that. Like I'd tracked and I'd made progress because I'd dirty bulked and I'd pulled some of it off. But I was like, I'd never stuck to a diet, and I was like, I love cheese too much. I don't know if I'm actually gonna be able to do this. But it's funny how like when you put the timeline in, and you've got the pressure and you've got a goal, like you can do anything you want. And it's like, and I can say that because I was that guy who I think I could before that.
Yeah. I guess what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to go right back to like that female attraction thing because I kind of want to touch on that because nobody's ever brought that up before. But the more and more I think about when I was like a young lad and I used to do loads of sit-ups and I used to try and get like bigger shoulders, I think I was doing that a lot for like if I look good, girls will look at me. If I got more girls looking at me, the chances of me getting more girls is it's higher. Do you want to talk about like if that did that ever help you in any way, or did you find any benefit from training?
So let's go. So when I was at that point, this was back in high school. So obviously I was skinny fat. I was athletic and I was known for being fast, but I was never like how do you put this? Like, never the most popular boy in school. Like, I had plenty of friends and I was in a good friendship circle and all that. But like, I always just thought if I could fill out a t-shirt, people will respect me a little bit more. If I've got a little bit of something about me, and hand in hand, something will come along with the girls. It didn't for a long time. Maybe a little bit, but nothing crazy. And then off the back of, I suppose, like by the time I started at Pure Gym, I guess you could say that a little bit more. Like I had something about me at that point. There does reach a point. Funny, it reached a point where like you could maybe go up the attention peaks and it goes down, and then before you know it, it's just guys messaging you. It's just guys.
That's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say. Like there's that meme out there that's like you try and get a 6-pack to get female attention, and all you get's like dude attention.
Yeah. Like I think even like, we've both obviously done prep. Females aren't attracted to that. They're not. They might find it impressive, but like that's too much.
Yeah, no, mate. Like I can remember when I was even when I go back to like being in school. Like I was always quite skinny, like slim, and I just played sport all the time. So I had like not a full 6-pack, but I had like a 4-pack, and it would only ever be guys that would be like, "Oh, I've heard you got a 6-pack. Let me see it," and I'd be like, "All right." And I started to think like, right, surely all the guys will start telling the girls that I've got a 6-pack, and it fucking never. Nobody cares.
I remember I used to be with my biceps bounce, and like in school, and all the boys wanted to see it. Don't think I ever had a girl ask.
Oh, it's such a funny.
Yeah,
It's
man.
such a funny. But I guess like you're saying, like the attention thing. I think it comes from like the confidence in the way that you carry yourself when you start to maybe gain a bit of muscle. Like you
Pretend-
have this like
I did,
yeah.
I
No, you
did have
go.
a lot
You
more
go.
confidence at that. Once I got into like the gym's helped a little bit, but there were still plenty of times along the first few years where like I like even like going up and speaking to new people. Like I'm not the sort to go and do that even to this day. Like you talk to me, I'll talk to you. Like I'll you be good to me, I'll be good to you, that sort of thing. But I'm not the outgoing person who's going to go up and start that conversation. So, but being in pure gym, I had to be a little bit more open in that. So like at that point, like you're taking classes in front of 30 people, your confidence does grow. Like you know you look good, you feel good, and it's not even so much as like you walk around with that thought process, but you do just naturally project yourself better when you feel like that.
Yeah, yeah. I I try and explain this to clients, but a lot of the time they don't. It's almost like that. Do you know, like that saying, like happiness is not it's not a destination. It's like the way of it. You'll maybe be able to
Yes,
understand
yes.
this as well. Like we've both been peak bulk, big belly, double chin.
Oh yeah,
We've been
oh
shredded
yeah,
out of our mind. There's like this nice place
yeah,
in the middle. Like, and when you get there, you
yeah.
get this, you
I,
gain this like body confidence that you're like, if someone wants to see me with my top off just now, I don't really give a shit. Like, I don't look my greatest, or I don't look my
yeah.
greatest, but at least I don't look like that.
And for us, we get that for like 3 weeks of the year because normally we're at either end.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, it's fucking hilarious. So
Yeah,
you've
you can't win.
transitioned then. Well, yeah, you can't. We'll talk about right. So you started exact like very similar position to me. Like everybody starts somewhere, they have to learn.
Yeah,
They then go
yeah,
into
yeah. Of
like
course.
you almost, and I don't know if you've done the same thing. Like you go into your own niche and you try and mold your clients to that. So like strength training, strength and
Yeah,
conditioning. For me, it was like I want everybody Olympic lift
yeah,
because I think it's so good for mobility and you'll be able to do this, that, and the other. And you're now
yeah.
sort of slowly transforming or transferring, or you are like I'd say you're pretty like solidified into like the transformation space. I would say.
I appreciate
What
that.
are
Yeah, I think I'm
essentially
getting. I think at this point,
no
like
on you go?
people come to me, they know what they're going to be getting. They know what they're going to be
Yeah,
getting. So there is that, and like I'll actually say to someone up front, I was like, if this isn't what you want, I'm not the guy for you. Whereas beforehand, if someone was like, oh, I want to learn how to box, like yeah, sure, I can teach you the box, or I'll be able to show you how to do Olympic lifting. Whereas now I just stay in my lane. You know what I mean?
yeah. Do you ever get people slip through the net that are like, yeah, I really want that, and then after a few weeks you're like, this isn't
Um,
going to work.
do you mean in regards to like adherence, or like in regards to like what they actually want?
A bit of both, either, any.
Um, I still do get clients to this day that are like maybe shouldn't have taken you on because like it becomes pretty apparent pretty quickly that they're not going to hold up.
Yeah,
And see, to be honest, like I'm sure there'll be like PTs that like get this. Like it's money in the door, isn't it? And it's like you're like, oh, they might be able to help them, and there is that element, and it's like, well, I'll see what I can
yeah,
do. But I look back and I'm like, I'm not even bothered with that. So there is people that slip through the cracks, but most
yeah,
people like I don't think I've had a complaint about the way I've dealt with nutrition, cardio, or training for a long time now because they know what they get, and I'm upfront with that. I was like, you're like, it's not bodybuilding, but we're gonna train muscles in that sense. Like I'm not giving you high paced hit workouts or anything. Like you're here to get
yeah,
stronger and look better.
yeah. I've had a couple recently. The good thing is like they're I think they realise because again similar to you like I just try and be fair. Like I'll say to some clients like I
Yeah,
had to say to someone a few weeks back, and I'm going to keep this completely confidential so they don't know. I had one person saying
mm-hmm.
I had to say to them like, look, I don't think you're in the right place just now for this. Like I think you've got a bit too
Yeah,
much going on in life. And then there's other people that I've tried to like and you'll know you've maybe tried this yourself. Like I've said like, look, I don't think we're working together very well. I think it'd be better for you to take your own thing and I'll go my own way because I don't want to take your money and I
mm-hmm.
don't want you to waste my time. But what I've found recently
Yeah,
is when I say
yeah,
that to people, they're like, no, I'll try harder. And then a week or two goes by and it's the same thing again, and you're like, nah, look, like, honestly. And they're like, no, honestly, trust me. And it's fucking, like, yeah. I still get that,
I've
and I
definitely
imagine I'll
had
probably
that.
get that for a long time.
Like I'm like, right, are you sure this is what you want? Is this the right thing for you? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah. I don't often have to say no to people, but I have a couple of times before been like, I can't work with you when you've got this relationship problems with food. I'm not the guy for you.
Yeah,
I have had to do that.
yeah,
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 and I've got a rule
definitely.
of thumb that if someone leaves me on like if they it's like they just stop replying or like they just go ghost mode, I'll give them one chance if they want to come back. But if they do it twice, like you're out. And I've had people try and
Yeah,
come back
yeah.
to me multiple times. I'm like, no, this.
Mate, I've had a
Yeah,
this is a god honest true story, right? This was a few years back, right? I had a girl that I would speak to, like I would say hi, I would stop, stand, talk to, like knew her partner. She had like I knew her like family and everything. She was like, "Oh, can you
yeah,
set me up?" I set her up, sent her stuff. Well, no, she was like, "I'm waiting up to work. Can I pay as soon as I get there?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, no bother." Sent all her stuff,
yeah, yeah.
ghosted me. But
Oh no
cheekily,
way!
like 3 times she's tried to come back. Like 3 times she's like, "Oh, can I
That'd be
get coaching again?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like you fucking stole from me."
fucking never paid for the first.
Oh, honestly.
I don't know how people how do they not realize like it's a redneck man? They like my rule of thumb is I literally say to someone I was like, once you set up the direct debit and pay me, then I'll work on your plan because I've fell victim to that before.
That's what I have to do now. And some people get a bit not
Yeah,
like they almost like they want it to be exact same time. So like when they pay, they get the thing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we have to do that, like because it
I,
takes time to set you up, and then yeah,
yeah. Like I'm naturally I can put things off. I can procrastinate. So I'll literally be like, right, you pay me, and I'll have it to you by tomorrow. And I just say it, and that me giving myself that deadline, it forces me to have it done. And I was like, at least they know when they're getting it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's a fucking crazy thing. So
Yeah.
like let's talk a bit about transformations because I bet there'll be a couple people that'll be listening. And again, if anybody wants to find out about Liam, wants to work with Liam or anything, we will have his details down below. But I'm going to get him, if you don't mind, giving us a few like
Yeah.
steps that you would recommend people to take, or what you get people to do
Hmm.
to achieve like amazing transformations. Like what are key attributes or stages or steps, or just I don't know if you could just break it down in like a simplified way if you can.
Yeah. So that's it. Does depend on where the person's starting and how far they want to go. Um, Obviously, you're like you're going to have a minimum baseline of cardio. I try to get people, if someone's doing fat loss, they're doing at least a minimum of 60 minutes per week, potentially more as a minimum.
Yeah,
Obviously, you've got to consider your output, your step count. I don't like to go super high on step counts. Like I don't think unless someone naturally moves a loads, I try not to put them too high. And then obviously you've got your calories and stuff. I don't work with formulas. I don't work with like calculations. Like at this point, I don't know if you're the same. I could just eyeball it and I could be like, right, this is going to be about right. I might double check sometimes. So I'm like, sometimes we need to just get stuck in. Now, if someone's a while away from making a transformation, like for example, I had a guy, Gary, who I've been working with since the start of this year. I've worked with him in the past, so I knew his body, and we wanted to lose like 30 kilograms. And at this point, from January, he's lost 22 kilograms. And what I've done is I've done it in phases. So started calories a little bit higher, started cardio a little bit lower, and we've tapered the calories down gradually, cardio up slightly, given him a week's diet break, and then so say we finished there in the first phase, diet break, I'll actually start him a little bit higher and then go down again, and it's just gradual. It's a very open ended question because it depends on like if there's a timeline or anything. But I think, like for me, I'm wanting a rate of loss per week. Like if it's nothing extreme, like I want at least half a kilogram per week. If someone's in a bit more of a rush, I want closer to a kilogram. And then along the way, if we're not getting that over the course of like a couple of weeks, it's like right, it's time to make a change. Again, a lot of, for me, unless it's a prep setting, there is a little bit of. I always say this isn't a dictatorship. I'm not just going to tell you we can go back and forth. So like if someone's time short for cardio, then you're just going to get a slightly bigger calorie drop. Whereas I might do a small calorie drop, small cardio increase. It's actually the way Vaughn does it. I think that's probably where I picked it up from, and ran it that way. I think the leaner someone gets, the more on the ball you have to be with the rate of loss and look at sort of fatigue. But if it's a big transformation, there's going to be some diet breaks along the way just to break it up. As I have found that when I've tried to diet someone hard for a longer period of time, it normally ends with them binging at some point as they're getting close to the end goal and then thinking they can't do it anymore. So I think diet breaks
Yeah.
along the way is a good shout.
Yeah, no, that's mate. Honestly, like
Yeah.
a big thing that I want people to learn from like Man podcast as well is like it is muscles and nonsense. Like there's a bit of nonsense in life and stuff, and then there's a bit about like all of this. And I want people to get the understanding that it's going to take time.
Yeah.
It depends very much on you, and there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
And I
Also, I
just wanted to
definitely
hear
get
like
what you need.
yeah, like I wanted you to be able to say that like again, like kind of, and I guess anybody listening, I've not paid him to say that. We didn't plan that. Like if any of my clients are listening, they'll know like I always say as well, this isn't a dictatorship. Like this is a two-way thing.
Yeah.
There's laws and rules that you need to abide with. And if you give me some information, I'll just make sure that we stick within them. So yeah, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
You just bounce off what
have
they're
you seen,
available to do. What the sorry.
no, on you go.
Well, so it's more what they're able to do, but I think what's more important is what they're actually willing to do. Because someone might say, "Yeah, I can do all this," but when it comes to it, they're not willing to do all that cardio. So
Yeah.
I think communication and not only what someone needs, but what someone wants is important as well. To make sure you strike that fine balance of progress versus making someone hate it and they're out the door a couple months later.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny the amount of people that like don't listen to that advice. Like you say to them, like, look, this is going to take a
Yeah,
long time. I don't want you to hate it. I want you to like doing it because it's a lot
yeah.
easier to get yourself to do something you like than to force yourself to do something you dislike. But like nobody
Oh,
listens
100%.
to that.
Yeah. No, and I think if someone just wants to create a transformation in it, it's like really important that they actually enjoy it along the way. Whereas if someone just wants to get holiday lean, then there might be a little bit more wiggle room at that point because, like, right, you're not looking to stay here. But yeah, the enjoyment factor needs to be there. It needs to be there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So we know you're a transformation coach. We know you're amazing. And when people look at your Instagram, they'll see that you do get results and you're not just fucking talking shite, which is a good thing, I think. I think if you can back up what you're talking about, it's a good
Okay.
thing. What? So you mentioned that you had the like the storage unit, like the
Yep.
space for like doing your PTs in. What were the stages from
Yep.
transitioning from that to the facility? Like what did you have to go through, and what was like the biggest changes from being a PT to like a gym owner?
Well, it's worth prefacing that like I still do PT within the gym business now. So like I still PT within my gym, but essentially it became a case of what we could supply versus what the demand was two different things. So it was like, right,
Yeah,
we're outside in the park, we've got limited kit, and then right, we can go to a shipping container, which like you're talking a standard size shipping container. We could get a squat rack in there, so we could do that. We could get a lap pull down pulley system. Um, I think Anis, the third boy, so there's three of us that run the gym, and the third boy, so me and Daniel, we had the shipping container together, and then Anis had another one down the road, and he had like an assault bike and stuff in. And then before you know it, we're collecting all of this equipment, not a lot of room, and in Scotland, it's raining, you have to close the door over sometimes, and all of a sudden we're pretty much in the dark with a dim lamp, and there's not a lot of room. We've got the demand from clients who say they don't want to go back. I think it must have been about 18, 20 clients at this point. Obviously, Daniel would have been about the same, Anis would have been about the same. So we're like, right, let's just get a PT studio. And again, that didn't work, so we went for this much bigger unit, which, being honest, COVID actually saved us because, like, I remember we spent $2,000 on painting that floor alone, and it was still shit. We got flooring was going to cost like 10 grand, and obviously we're pretty much didn't have that at this point. We've opened up this great big unit, and all of a sudden, like, we've not got anything from kit. We've got the bare basics that would work in a home gym, but we've not got professional kit. We've not got flooring. We've not got an office. We've not got a changing room. We've not got mirrors. We've not got a membership platform for things to work on. So we did need funding, but going back to COVID, we actually got the loss of income grant. And I think that was about 25,000 we got in the end, which really, really fucking helped. Like without that, we wouldn't be able to get the floor or half the gym set up. We got another loan initially. It was like a startup fund or something. And at that point, we were able to sort of expand. Like we got that unit fully expecting for it to be a work in progress, knowing that as it opened, it wasn't going to be the fully finished product, but we're just going to make our way. But then the gyms closed, the COVID grant came, and that really helped essentially. So over the last couple of years, we've been able to build bit by bit by bit. Like we didn't even have mirrors initially, to be honest. So that came along later. We had one cable pulley system, and we were able to get another one. We didn't have any cardio kit. We got Stairmaster. We had to get a Smith machine along the way. And now, recently, as of a couple of months ago, we're not finished it yet, but we've actually taken on a unit around the side of us. So now we're going to actually have like an entrance way to the gym where there's going to be like changing rooms. There's going to be like somewhere where you can sit and chill, and there's going to be an entranceway with a security door, because that's another problem we've got at the moment, is that we've got cameras and we've got membership, but we don't necessarily have control of who comes in and know for sure. So it's just expanding along the way, and yeah, so it's been like that. And obviously, all this time I'm still PTing in the gym. I still run my same schedule, but rather than paying Pure Gym £600 a month to rent out of a facility, which is meh, I can run my PT business for free out of somewhere that I own, and I have a say in what goes on equipment wise.
That's cool. Do you love having a gym?
So yeah, man. I do, and I don't. I love the freedom. I love the fact that I've got to say, I love the ability to pick equipment. I love that it is my space. But there's a lot of stressors that come along with a gym that you just don't see. Like even things like rates. Like we've just been hit with a massive water bill for the last. Did you know that waste rain? So we've got our roof rain that falls off that we get billed for it. We got this great big unit. So little things like that, man. So there's a lot of stressors along the way. But I would take that every day over working at a commercial gym. I think that if you could have your name on something, it's definitely better. But
And you've
I
got
will
quite a
also
big team.
say, yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm really glad to have the two boys that I do it with, because I don't know if I'd have the capacity to run a business the way I do and run a gym on my own. Like it's hard enough with three of us. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And you're starting to take
yeah,
there's external PTs that come in as well now, isn't there? Like
yeah.
they get a bit of a
We knew up front we wanted to do that. We wanted to take rent PTs in. So essentially, it was a case of like we went into it knowing that we weren't going to be making any money from it initially. Like there was, if anything, we were paying money into that gym for the first little while. Like we had a monthly, I think it was £250 a month that we paid each just to allow us to like float over. But again, going back to Pure Gym, it'd have been £600. So it was still worth it. And then as we've taken rent PTs in, they pretty much cover the rent of the gym. The membership grows. Before you know it, we're not paying anything, and we're now in a position where we can actually take bonuses every quarter, which is nice, going from paying £250 a month.
yeah. That's fucking. Do you know what? Like the thing I love about that, and maybe people are not looking at it like this. Like Liam's story from this small town, went to try something at university, didn't click. It wasn't the right thing. Took a different route, felt better along the way, progressed and learnt. Now's finding positions. Then again, things got difficult. COVID hit. Didn't have enough money for the gym. Like COVID loan help. Like I think these stories, and I do like I love a story. Like I love hearing like about adversity, and I love hearing about like things not going all the way, like going right all the time. And mate, I think it's class. I do think it's like a
Yeah,
class story. Like I really, really, really do. I really do.
and I think we're saying like there is a lot of adversity along the way, and like there's always these challenges. Even going back to like the Pure Gym days when I'm looking for other jobs and I'm thinking, can I keep this PT up? So if I'm having like a rough time, be that income from business or something's went wrong with the gym, or even if I'm just having a bad day in my own head, I was like, well, nothing to this point has got the better of me to the point where like I haven't been able to keep doing what I'm doing. So why is this time going to be any different? And I think you need that inner voice being like, you've made it this far. Like, why are you
Yeah.
not going to be able to keep going forward with whatever?
Yeah, that's so true. So true. Do you think
Yeah.
and maybe I'm just like putting a lot of like eggs into one basket here. Do you think prep helps with that mindset?
I think prep helps in the sense that like if I can get through something as hard as that, there's no situation in life that I can't deal with. Which don't get me wrong, I get myself in some testing shitty situations. That's still hard to get through. But I do tell myself that if I can get through something as difficult as prep, I can get through anything. And obviously, like yeah, like you tell yourself you don't have time to do something in a day, but you can fit an hour of cardio in and 15,000 steps. Like, I think it definitely helps with discipline and the ability to stay headstrong. I would definitely think.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you can you so like those traits of like people being able to just like keep keep going, keep going. Do you find that you're getting a lot of clients now with those sorts of traits, and you're getting like similar people that can persevere and push through and deal with a bit more taken from them, I suppose? Or...
Getting there, yeah, getting there. I've definitely like I tend to pick up vibes from people, and I can tell who can be pushed harder and who can't. Like for example, she won't mind me saying this. Like I had a prep client, Louise, who competed in bikini earlier this year, and I remember when we first started last year, she wanted to do it, but she was really struggling with time to hit even like 6, 7, 8,000 steps, to the point where I was like, I don't know if prep's the best thing for you. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it. And smashed it out of the park. Like, didn't miss a beat once. So I think like I can pick up on doubts, and I will voice those concerns to someone, because I don't want someone getting into something and then having to pull out later. But I've definitely attract people who have work ethic. Not 100%. I'm not going to kid on and say 100% of my client base have that, but I definitely have the work ethic people that are drawn to me. And probably it is in fact due to the fact that like they potentially see what I do as an inspiration, potentially.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you'll be able to talk much about this, or if you can share, but like, what sort of like aspirations, and where like can you see like CBM going, and where can you see like it's dedicated conditioning, it's called, isn't it? Your gym, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Is there
So
like
this might, yeah, it might be a little bit different to the norm, in that I don't necessarily have a long-term picture painted vision. Like to me, I ask myself, can I still see myself doing this in a year's time? Like self-employment is stressful. There's no denying it, and it's like it's ups and downs. And like for example, like I lost income of like $1,500 at the end of May there, and I was like, holy shit, and like that bothered me. But then, and I do ask myself like, how long do I want to keep putting myself through this for? But the answer is for as long as I possibly fucking can. Like I have the freedom to train when I want. I have the freedom to create my own schedule. I have the freedom to basically do what I want in life within reason. So I don't necessarily have a long term vision so much as I just want to ask myself, can I still be doing it in a year's time, and can I still be getting better? So I want to just keep getting better results with my team. I want to be doing more steady photo shoots, and I just all for me. I want it to be. I want to be the go-to guy in Stirling for results. I was like, if someone wants to get shredded, I want to be the name that pops into mind. And to be honest, like I think I'm well on my way to that. I don't even know if there's a big gap in the Stirling market. I don't think there's many people that even do that. So that's first and foremost, and then obviously that can take off a little bit from there. And I would definitely like to go towards being one of the more recognised transformation coaches in Scotland. That's a hard task because there's a lot of very good ones, but I would like to be in that conversation, and just again keep being better. The competing, I don't know how long I'm going to do that for yet. I always tell myself this is the last one, and it never is. But I want to finish on a high note. I want to finish on a high note. And then the gym, obviously, we got that in a 5-year contract. That was September 2020. We wanted to get to year 5 and be talking about expansion, but we've just bought an expansion unit here. So I suppose it's just continuing to like build the reputation. Like I still feel like we might be a little bit unknown. So there's stuff that we need to work on in marketing and just have more like awareness of what we are and what we do. But we want to keep running that for as long as possible, make it bigger and better, continue to expand, continue to improve the quality of kit. So I suppose like the vision is just constant improvement of everything that I do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can totally relate to that completely. Like completely relate
Yeah.
to that. There's something we were kind of talking about before. Like I think that's like I kind of want to. I like that. I like that about where you want to go, what you're doing just now. I like people hearing that. They hear the story. They hear that there's
Yeah.
plans for the future. I just kind of want to chit chat
Yeah.
now about like other things and bits and bobs that we were talking about just before we jumped on. Um,
Let's do it.
and we were talking about like Liam done a post. It was a video of him sat talking. I can remember it because you got a few bits recorded, a few things of content, and I can remember like I think you were on prep, and I can remember
I was.
thinking like, oh, he's got that prep brain where you start to like pick away at society and that, and then but when you said it, I can remember being like, no, that's fucking so right. Like everybody thinks that their problems are the worst, or everybody thinks that they've got like the worst situation. And I was wondering if, and I know we've got client confidentiality. Is there any clients that have been in situations where you were like, there is no way you're going to manage this, and they managed to still persevere and push through?
Um, to be honest, I wouldn't say so more. I wouldn't say they've. There's been people who I was like, you're going to struggle with what I ask of you, and they've been able to see it through.
Yeah.
But that post was more for people that complain. Like, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, I said, people think they're special and they think their problems are unique to them. They think
Yeah.
that they're the only people in the world who struggle with social life, or they've got a really busy work schedule and the world's out to get them and nobody could possibly do it. How do you expect it? But I was like, there's someone out there with worse life circumstances, with less time, with more mental health problems than you, and they're still getting shit done. So I'll always listen. I'll give somebody a sympathetic ear, but shut up. You know what I mean? Like there's people that can just they can just like I'm very patient with my clients, but at the same time it's like there's always someone out there who's got it worse than you, and there's always someone out there who's doing it better than you with worse circumstances. Like like I said, I've got people like Louise, and again she won't make me mention it, but like I didn't think she'd be able to persevere with a prep, and she has. So like there's never been a drastic situation, but there's been people who have been plagued with self doubt, or perhaps they've thought they're never going to be able to overcome a simple problem like navigating a social life at the weekend. But over time, they've given themselves the patience to be able to do so. And I think that is the key factor: is that sometimes you get two kinds of people in that situation. You get people who feel hard done by and they're never going to be able to do any better, and they just throw it in the towel, or you get people who are like, right, this is hard, but it'll get better if I keep chipping away at it. And that's the kind of people that I like. The people that are willing to give themselves the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess there's like two topics in there that I'd kind of like to touch on. Like, is I am a firm believer of like
Yeah.
that saying that's like he who says he can and he who says he can't are both right.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Like your mindset will
Like
dictate your success.
100%. Like there's people that I know are in like the perfect position to go forward with things, and they're just like, I can't do this, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, like what's making you think that? Like what there is making you think that? And
Yeah.
then I've had other people like so
I
the
do
reason I was
think.
asking. No,
Yeah.
on you
Yeah.
go, Liam. On you go.
I do think that sometimes people think they want something, and when it comes down to it, they don't actually. They like the idea of it. They've seen something on social media, it looks cool, and I do have people like that where like I think they want to do something because that's the social media norm. Like they need to go and get shredded for a holiday, or they want to step on stage, or they even want to like they've just seen something on social media and they think, well, I should be doing that too. But when it comes down to it, they don't actually want to do it because they're complaining at the first sign of hardship.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. I what was the other thing? There was another point that you made there that I was going to try and touch on. He says he can, he says can't, and I can't remember what it was now. Must have been boring. But yeah, I think
That's going to come back.
I know it's gonna. Fuck, what was it now? It was like a good thing to talk about as well. Here, I guess this is something else as well. Then,
Uh,
like just as a coach,
okay.
like how could you maybe get someone through a situation when they're like, I can't do this, because there'll be people. Honest, I know there's going to be people listening to this that have maybe tried, they've started, they've failed, they've maybe never tried because they're worried that they're just going to fail off the bat. Is there anything as a coach that you would maybe say, or you would try and like talk them through to get them to maybe believe in themselves a bit more, or even just take one more step?
I think sometimes people react emotionally versus thinking about things logically, and sometimes it can be just about breaking down the logic of the action, the logic of the goal, and the reason why they want to do it in the first place. And I've never had to have. Well, I mean, I have. I've had to have like the what's the word I'm looking for, the headline of this conversation, but I've never had to go in depth. People who aren't willing to try, well, or they're cast self doubt. They're going to take a step forward. They're going to go way backwards, and they're going to go in this cycle continuously, one step back, one step forward, two steps back, to the point where they just wish they were back in the position where they first started when they first doubted themselves.
Yeah,
And it's like, what will you in a year's time want? Like even now, like I've got situations going on where I'm like, I've said to myself I'm going to do something, and I've not done it, and now I'm kicking myself, and I'm thinking if I had just done that when I said I was going to, I wouldn't be having this problem right now.
yeah,
And it's like it's just looking at the logic of things and like, well, what do you want? Do you want that? like, do you want that cake right now that you can't say no to all the time because parents bring it into your work, or like into like, or like patients bring it into your workplace, or like, do you want to look and feel better? Like, you can't. It's not like, I think again they have this perfectionist mindset, and I think that's really important to break that down straight away. I was like, you might have this expectation of what you can achieve and what can be done on a perfect basis, but you're rarely ever going to have that perfect basis. You're going to have people bring you in food. You're going to have a busy week where perhaps you're doing overtime or there's something on, and you need to just break it down to this thought process of what is the best that I can do for this week given these circumstances, knowing that these circumstances will change week to week, and remove this if I don't get it 100% right, I'm going to fail mindset. I've had that conversation many times.
Yeah, yeah. This is actually, I've got a post planned for next week, and I'll happily talk about this just now. Is a huge thing that I think's off with society is expectations around fat loss. Like, I
Yes,
think a lot of people think,
yes.
right, if I go to the gym, I've lost fat. If I don't eat one takeaway tonight, I lose fat. Is a like, and
Mm-hmm.
you've done like longest prep you've been on?
Oh, probably not as long as you, to be fair, mate. I think 21 weeks, 22 weeks total is the longest prep I've done.
Yeah. And when you do preps for that long, you realize how underwhelming fat loss is, don't you? Like you realize that
Yes.
it's not an emotion, you don't feel it. But as you see those little progresses, those little changes, you're like, right, these do add up. I've just got to give them a bit more time. You go another 2 or 3 weeks,
And
you look in the mirror,
you'll know this.
and you go,
The first, maybe, first 2 months of your prep, sometimes, you're not even, well, yeah, you're not even really seeing that much progress. The progress only really
no,
comes to start when you really get stuck into the deficit. Like, you feel like you're dieting, the scale weight's going down, but you're not necessarily looking any better. Like, you need to see it
yeah,
through, because that change is coming slow at first.
yeah, yeah. That's always something that I wish I could plug into a client. Like, have the lowest expectations for what like £3 coming off is going to look like, because it's not like,
Yeah.
oh, she lost a pound last week, but I'm going to lose 3 this week, so I should look 3 times as good as. Like, it doesn't work like that, and I think that's like
You
a
might
big
lose three
flaw with.
calves as well. It's like
Yeah,
you might lose 3 pounds off your stomach. Someone might lose it off the calves and their upper back, and they can't see the difference. And they're like, "What's the point?"
yeah,
Like, you can't control that, can you?
100. Yeah, I do think that's like a good point. Like I've got a full post like the stuff that you hear people saying, and like I think having those expectations and then it being here, people are just like, what the fuck? I was wanting to be up here, and I must have got something wrong. What am I doing? Like, how come I'm not doing it? Am I?
Yeah.
Do I have to try loads harder? So then they got these expectations here, and they try 10 times harder, and they still don't get it. Like, fat loss for anybody that is listening is very underwhelming until months down the line. Um,
I also think,
it came.
I don't know if you've had this, Tom. People might compare. You sometimes see people comparing their body to another person's body on Instagram. You've got
Yeah,
that whole comparison thing. I think sometimes people compare their fat loss to perhaps another client that you've posted. So they've seen their before and after, and they're like, right, they've done it in 3 months. So why can't I? And I was like, well, you don't know what that person's start point was. You don't know what they had to go through. You don't know what availability they had. Like, comparing your before and after to someone else's before and after is a recipe for disaster.
mate. Like, so perfect example for this could be like if say we were to compare physiques. You and I both do men's physique. Liam, how tall are
Yeah.
you?
I'm like 5'8" with shoes on, mate. The shoes part's
Yeah, so
important.
Liam's a little bit shorter than me, and his arms are a little bit shorter than mine. His arms are fucking massive. Genetics, the way he trains, like, and how long he's been doing this have had huge impacts on how much bigger his arms than mine. If I was to just sit and dwell on that, like, that could ruin me. That could genuinely ruin me. And this is the other thing that like a lot of people, what they'll do is, have you ever seen that? It's like an old saying or something like when you get all the animals of the jungle to do one animal's thing, they try and get like a monkey. There's like giraffes. There's a bunch of animals from Africa, and they get it's like the first person to run up the tree wins is the best animal, and you're like you're putting
Okay.
people or these
Mm-hmm.
animals into the wrong races or into like the wrong situation, and I think a lot of people do that as well.
Yeah.
And to even like add another limb onto this, a thing that I've found is you may get, and I've actually got a post planned for this as well. You may get like a football player that comes to you and he's like, I want to get leaner. and I want to look stage lean, and you're like, that
Yeah.
doesn't benefit your life. You maybe get like,
No.
so like I'm someone that's like, I'm signed up for a marathon, but I want to get bigger. Like I want to
Yeah.
get big arms, and you're like try and get things to align, like as opposed to try fighting
Yes.
back on yourself and that. And I think that's like quite a common thing as well that you see. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
maybe I'm just going on a whole
And
tangent,
like,
but
I think yeah, you do get that, and it's like, yeah, that people, they want this and that, and it's like I do see that with football players quite a lot, and it's like,
yeah,
well, first of all, you play football so you can go out at the weekend and go on the piss up, like that's never happening. It's like
yeah,
I think it's almost like a skewed perception of what can be done. Like there's this whole notion like they want to lose loads of body fat and gain loads of muscle at the same time, and it's like I think like just focus on one chapter at a time. Like write your chapter and get on to the next. And it's like this might be a terrible analogy, but you've got 10 chapters in a book. Say each chapter's a different length. Like it can take longer than others. You know what I mean? And it's like
yeah,
they're so focused on what's at the end versus just enjoying the journey of getting there. Like just take the wins. Like if you want to lose, I don't know, if you want to lose 3 stone, celebrate losing half a stone. Like don't worry about the other person's lost a stone in 2 weeks or whatever. Like you want to like get these great big arms, but you want to lose loads of body fat. Let's celebrate the win of getting lean enough to actually put on building muscle in the first place and enjoy the journey of that.
100%, 100%. And I think that's a
Yeah,
good analogy. I think that's a really good analogy. And I actually done like I like the analogy to get to the point of like you can't read a page without reading the words. You can't read like a chapter without reading the pages. Like you have to do
yeah.
it. It gets stripped like right back to like it's just like one thing at a time. Like just try and do that as opposed to
And
like
look, and before you read a page, you need to learn how to read. Like break it down.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you don't judge the book by the cover either. Like you got to try and like, do you know what I mean? You could use a book as a really good analogy.
This is
Just
some
because it's
solid
like,
analogy right here. Books.
yeah, yeah. Hey, I know, like honestly, Liam, I really do appreciate this, and I know that you're a busy guy, and we had a bit of a faff. Like we're actually an hour, mm, about half an hour behind, aren't we?
Yeah, there was a bit of a yeah. My computer didn't work very
About
well.
half an hour behind. About half an hour behind. And I honestly think we could sit and talk for. I genuinely do. Like, mate, that time when we met at the gym, we didn't stop talking the whole time, and you were busy, and you had to shoot off, and
Yeah,
I think we could have just spent the rest of the day with each other. But mate, I'm gonna get you
it
back
doesn't even.
on another time if that's all right.
Yeah, man, of course, of course.
Yeah, and I do know that you're busy. So what we're gonna do is, I finished the podcast with the same question with absolutely everybody,
Go for it.
and it's just to find out a little bit, and it's to give me some insight into something that I've become like mildly obsessed with. And the question is, what do you think it takes to be a good man? And I know it's pretty deep, so if you want to take a second, or if you just want to say anything, I'm not going to judge you on it. But I think I love hearing other good men's opinion and thoughts on this.
Oh, you've put me on the spot with that one. That could go deep.
Go as deep as
Yeah,
you want, man. Honestly,
good man. A good fuck.
it's hard.
um,
It's a hard one.
you can go down the route of like, are you a good man to a woman? Are you a good man to your family? Like, I'm just going to encompass all of it in one. Like,
Perfect.
I think a good man. I think a good man is someone who's respectful. I think that's one of the most important things. I think someone that, like, to me, like, that'll listen to you, that cares, that is willing to take the time and takes an interest. I think these are really important traits. And to be honest, like, that could even go as just a good person. To be honest, like, I don't necessarily I wouldn't necessarily differentiate between a good man and a good woman if I'm being really honest. Like someone that's caring, that listens, that's respectful. So someone that, to me, a good man is like, if I was to ask you to do something for me, I would only ask knowing that you would do it for me because you're a good man. Like
Yeah.
someone that's got your back, someone that you don't need to worry about what they're saying or doing behind your back about you. Someone that's upfront and just respectful. Yeah, those
Yeah,
sort of
mate,
things. I don't know if that's just
I actually no, I think that's a brilliant answer. Like I genuinely do, and nobody said that, and I
yeah,
think that is like a very good trait. And I think like being respectful encompasses so many things. It's not just like one thing, and I think that's brilliant, mate. Honestly, I think that's a brilliant answer.
yeah. Really was not prepared for that before anybody judges that.
No, you're fine, man. Right, Liam. Honestly, thank you so much. I will put all Liam's social media. I'll put a link to the website. His gym, sorry. And then I'll ask Liam once we come off if there's anything else he wants me to add in the description. But honestly, Liam, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And if
Thanks
anybody
for
has
having
any
me, mate.
questions for Liam, go and have a little look at his page. I'm just going to stop this, and then we'll have a little chat after. All right, my man.
Of course, mate. Of course.
Mate, that was.